Alrighty folks, we're gonna do something different in this video. We're pausing the all-epic storyline going on in the background and sticking to just reviews cause, well, time's running out for me and I want to focus on getting a good more couple of videos before I gotta resign myself to one of them real-life job things. Incidentally, Chip's voice actor is gonna be taking a little bit of a break and I didn't want to hound him. He's got a lot going on. He'll be back though. For now, buckle up, cause it's time for Runabout! Super Runabout! So this is a game from my old days of working at Funcoland. You know, those days where you'd see a game being played on a display console. That were just consoles in enclosures that only staff had access to so they could change up the games or get the consoles out altogether. It was apparently a part of a small franchise back in the day. It consisted of 5 games. Felony 1179, also known just as Runabout, released for the PlayStation 1 in 1997, Runabout 2, also released on the PlayStation 1 in 2000, Super Runabout San Francisco Edition, also known as Super Runabout The Golden State, for the Dreamcast in the same year, 2000, Runabout 3 Neo for the PlayStation 2 in 2002, and last but not least, Runabout 3D Drive Impossible for the Nintendo DS in 2012. The game was developed by Climax Entertainment, the same developers from the first game. Now, I find it kind of funny because I don't really remember any of those other games. And then again, you ought to take my experience with a grain of salt because apparently I was informed as of late that I completely missed out on the whole Halo craze back when the initial trilogy came out, despite working at a video game store. Seriously, the extent of my knowledge is just the first few seasons of Red vs. Blue. I don't know why!
Let me get this straight. You're telling me that the guy that showed up here, scared the living shit out of us, shot a caboose and beat the hell out of the Reds wasn't a guy at all? That he was a chick? And on top of that, she was your ex-girlfriend?
In a nutshell, yes. That's an excellent summary.
I should have known. She didn't like me. Girls never like me. Caboose, I don't think anybody likes you. I like me.
I love those guys. Anyways, so what the hell is Runabout about anyways? Well, the premise has always been pretty much the same in all the games. You control a vehicle and drive from point A to point B under the premise that the character you're controlling is either delivering something or needing to get to the destination for whatever narrative reason. Now, the hook to these games is not just the driving, it's the path you take. It tends to be largely destructive, smashing through all sorts of public areas that aren't usually meant for big four-wheel vehicles. The first game offered your choice in choosing maps, so I guess that's why they specifically named the second one San Francisco, to not give the illusion that you got much to explore beyond that region. And speaking of which, during my research for this game, I found out that they actually mapped out actual sections of San Francisco. Yep, those mad game devs took time out of their lives to make surprisingly accurate mapped locations. Well, not 100% accurate, but it's more accurate than I was expecting. I mean, I even did some detective work, and lo and behold, the car shop from the game is more or less in the same area as this car garage. Coincidence?
I think not!
Okay. So awesome details aside, how is the game as a whole? Well, I can tell you one thing. It's pretty damn entertaining. It makes no effort whatsoever in being a realistic driving experience. It instead leans heavily on the ridiculousness of both its physics and narrative. You see, while the vehicles largely behave normally, when you hit something, well, practically all hell breaks loose. No, I'm not even exaggerating here. A collision, no matter the speed, can lead you to just spinning out, lobbing into another thing, or just straight up flipping over. NPC cars have a worse time, hilariously enough, with them facing the possibilities of just getting launched backwards or being launched into other vehicles or, just flying away. Just flying away, like normal cars do. Now, when you fire up the game, you get a choice between two campaign scenarios, A or B. A is called The Poor Have No Leisure, and B is called Bad News Has Wings. Now, believe it or not, this game has a story. Well, it's got fragments of a story. Okay, look, let me explain. Neither one of them really goes into details about their stories, except for fairly short cinematics at the very beginning. They're both vaguely connected, but it's pretty much as bonkers as the gameplay. The manual actually does clear a couple of things up for explaining the characters and the story a little bit. See, I'm learning. The challenging stress of San Francisco awaits. Players can choose between two scenarios. One of the scenarios features a semi-legal courier service run by Pop, an old man struggling with the loan repayment, I feel that, and his streetwise daughter, Shirley. There's another guy, well, actually, not in the manual, there's another guy in there who acts as the main driver named Uncle Joe, but we'll get to him soon. The manual continues. Scenario A, courier version. After being gone for years, Shirley reappears at Pop's rundown auto shop. She offers to work in exchange for room and board. Pop, who is currently in debt to the local crime boss Waldman, accepts her help as a courier. Their goal? Do what it takes to free Pop from Waldman's influence. We then get a rundown on each character and, oh, there he is! Uncle Joe. Joe's an old buddy of Pop and a highly skilled mechanic. When he's not helping out Pop, Joe sometimes takes police and military-related assignments as well. Sure, okay then. Pop. Pop's a shrewd courier, if a little unscrupulous, who is rumored to have once been an ex-F1 race car driver. Recently, he gave up a lifelong habit of smoking thanks to the threats of his daughter. It's as good a reason as any to quit smoking. Shirley. Pop's daughter is a young, street-savvy girl who has decided to drop back into town to attend school. I'm pretty straightforward. And lastly, Waldman. Waldman is a politician who excels at covering up his true occupation as a powerful crime boss in San Francisco. Those who know the truth about him rarely survive long enough to turn him in. Oh man, what a jerkwad. Alright, that was Scenario A. Moving on to Scenario B in the manual, the police version. Police officer Brandon and Radman have reached a dead end in their jobs. Stuck as traffic cops, they really want to work for the Criminal Investigations Department. Thankfully, an opportunity presents itself when the chief of the department gives them the order to shut down a certain illegal courier business. See? Remember when I said the stories vaguely connect? If they succeed, perhaps their dream can come true. And now on to the characters for this scenario, starting with the Chief. The Chief's sole purpose in life is golfing in his office. His biggest problem is Brendan and Radman. That's it? Okay, I don't think we put in a lot of thought for the Chief. Moving on. Brandon. Brandon is a scrupulously honest ex-karate champion who considers driving to be a hobby of his. Wow, stellar. And last but not least, Radman, Brandon's partner. Radman once aspired to be an NBA player before giving up his career to join the Boys in Blue. Now that's a plot for a 90s buddy cop movie if I ever heard one. Alrighty, so we covered the stories for both scenarios in the manual. Thank goodness too, because the cinematics themselves don't really give you much to go on. We'll start with Scenario B, since that's the one I would always start with when I was a kid. I was a little obsessed with cops and law enforcement at the time. Thanks, Columbo. Anyways, the cinematic opens up at the SFPD 31st Precinct. The chief calls upon Brandon and Radman and gives them their task as previously described in the manual. One is excited while the other laments to having to do any work. The chief then meets with a mysterious individual, informing them that he had given the problem children the task at hand. It's then revealed that terrorists are planning to do something in the town. The mysterious man also mentions that the plan is to use those two cops as target practice for the terrorists. Man, signed up to be decoys, what a drag. The team from Scenario A is mentioned as being backed by a big organization again, emphasizing that what the manual has set up narratively. However, the mob isn't exactly named. Panicked that he just gave two goofballs a dangerous assignment, the chief rushes out the door to do something himself. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Mission 1 tasks you with stopping a runaway cable car. Keep in mind that choosing the right kind of vehicle is imperative if you want to stand any chance of succeeding in any given mission. Though, from what I can tell, all vehicles have the same kind of toughness. Toughness, because your car can get damaged. Enough damage on a particular side can result in tires getting wibbly-wobbly. Further damage on that area can result in the tire coming off completely. And it's game over, with the game throwing you all the way back to the office selection screen. Incidentally, as far as I can tell, I've never made it to max damage with any other two-wheeled vehicles like the police motorcycle or the moped, which is cool, but they're absolutely garbage to handle. Seriously, if you go too fast with any given bike, you'll spin out of control just by hitting the brakes. Also, the turning is so sluggish and out of control, it's insane. Practically impossible to handle at high speeds. Except for the moped. The moped just... it only has one speed and it's slow. Alright, so Mission 1, stopping a runaway cable car. Now, how do you propose we do that? Well, the most simple solution, of course. Ramming into it until it stops moving. So you drive your vehicle up to it and whoa! Great googly moogly! Did I mention this game had insane physics? It has insane physics. Mission number 2 has you delivering ketchup and mustard to City Hall for a VIP. That means going around the available map and smashing into hot dog stands to collect ketchup or mustard. 3 of each is required to complete the level. And this is where, as the infamous YouTuber Jacksepticeye once said, speed is key! But not too much speed, because you gotta contest with tight turns, oncoming traffic, subway trains, and terrorists on the road. All sorts of things are trying to get you. So it's a battle between being fast and being incredibly agile in response times. Deliver the ketchup and mustard to City Hall before time runs out and you'll be able to move on to the next mission. Mission number 3, protect the confidential documents. Our boys are tasked with collecting 6 attaché cases and are tasked to delivering them to a designated location. The game advises to watch out for speed crazies. Oh, don't you worry. We've been worrying about them the entire game so far. Don't you worry. So the level is basically a race against time and presumably against Uncle Joe from Scenario A. It looks like he's also after the attaché cases, and it's up to you to either get them from him by ramming his truck and or also getting them the ones that are just littered all across the street. They're just out there in the open, really? Okay. Oh, boy. Oh, this one got to me a little bit. You see, for my first couple of attempts, I followed the highway because I thought that's where I was supposed to go. But no, I was completely wrong. You see, what I had failed to realize is that there was an entrance to the side of the road immediately after the toll booth. I had to go in there in order to get to the attaché cases that were lined up just out of reach when I was on the highway proper. I mean, that right there, it pretty much sums up the game in its entirety, to be completely honest. It's one of those games where if you don't know what's the best route to take ahead of time, well, you're just gonna have to trial and error it until you find where the proper place is. I don't know, when I was driving through that toll booth type thing, it didn't occur to me to look immediately to my right. Now, I want to take a moment here to mention that I don't know if it's because of the nostalgia goggles, my glasses being all fogged up with nostalgia, or I don't know. But unlike Jim Powers, the game I just reviewed a while ago, I don't mind this so much. Probably because this is genuinely fun. Despite being frustrating at times, I'm actually having a good time playing this game. And not to mention, you can actually save your progress in this thing. After a handful of attempts, I managed to get to the drop-off point before the rifle truck, and... that's a submarine. Oh, sweet giblets, it just moved like Sonic the Hedgehog. I didn't know submarines could do that. I don't think submarines could do that. Alright, next part is towing away illegally parked limousines. Apparently there's a bunch of them of the suspicious variety that are parked all over the city, and it's up to us to tow them. Well, I mean, it's more like we get behind them, crash into them, and then push them into a waiting tow truck that's conveniently like right there. That's semantics. Gotta do it 6 times with vehicles sprinkled all around the city before we can call it a victory. Mission 5 is, oh, good grief. The chief got kidnapped. Well, apparently he had a stomach ache and called an ambulance, which was in fact fake, resulting in an actual kidnapping. Our mission is to ram the hell out of every ambulance we can find until we locate the chief. I don't think that's the safest way to go about that, boys. But then again, what do I know? I ain't no cop. I'm sure this is in the training somewhere. Somehow, ramming ambulances leads us to find out just where exactly the chief is being held at. They're holding the chief captive on Alcatraz with nuclear missiles. I need a minute. I knew this game was gonna be off the rails, but what? I think it's safe to say that we ought to throw all logic out the window at this point. I mean, come on. Look at this. Okay, this is nuts, even for this game. You gotta navigate a surprisingly detailed Alcatraz with no map and various vehicles trying to ram the hell out of you. Not to mention random fighter jets just trying to blast you to Kingdom Come. We actually find the chief inside Alcatraz itself, the building proper. We slam into some missile silos in order to prevent them from being used for, somewhat vague and nefarious purposes. And then we escape on a boat. Unless you're driving at full throttle, which, you'll be like me. You hit the boat, bounce off of it, and land in the water. Still counts, though. We escaped. Afterwards, there's, well, no, that's it. You beat Scenario B of Super Runabout San Francisco Edition. And there's not much to it other than credits rolling with photo stills of various parts of San Francisco. Oh, also, if you leave it at the selection screen at the very end of the credits, for about like a minute or two, you'll see a special picture of some of the dev team. Hey, thanks guys. Y'all made a really fun game. One of the few times I remember having fun despite being a little frustrated at times. Oh, incidentally, you can unlock stuff depending on how fast you beat certain missions. Things like additional cars that include a street cleaner, an ambulance, a pig, and a top-secret car that looks like it was inspired by Men in Black. You also get to unlock 2 special stages for each scenario, which are just as ridiculous, if not even more. Like picking up Major League Baseball players who are late for their game, and revealing Waldman's true identity. You mean the guy that was strong-arming the mechanic family? We finally get to know who he is? Well, yes and no. Well, you see, you get the better half of 8 minutes to follow Waldman around practically, the entirety of the available map. He periodically switches vehicles, and if you get too close, he fires a missile at you. Doesn't matter which vehicle it is. He'll just fire a missile at you, and will bump you back, so you have to race up to catch back up to him. Once you follow him all the way to the end, you ram his vehicle and make the arrest. And that's it. Not even a splash screen of information. That's pretty much it. Okay, so I gather Waldman is both a politician and a mob boss / terrorist organization leader. Presumably he's the one in charge of the mob that's strong-arming the car mechanic family. Also the mob and the terrorist organization, apparently. We now move on to Scenario A. Off the bat, it's about just as ridiculous as the rest of the game. The already established Pops and Uncle Joe are lamenting the lack of work around the place, as the deafening noise of a car crash can be felt and heard. Come to find that a small car and Shirley are the result of such calamity. Pops' daughter apparently having made her entrance by, just smashing into the place. The young girl appoints herself as the new manager to the shop, claiming that she'll undertake the position in exchange for staying at the, with them. I guess the home is the shop. The exterior doesn't really show very much, so I'm just very, very strong assumption I'm making. Wait a minute. I thought the young guy was Uncle Joe. Is Pops, is the dad the young guy? What about the old guy? Is that Uncle Joe? The game is not make anything clear. I just got guesses to go on. Even though at least the young guy is reluctant in having Shirley stay, it happens regardless. And she somehow manages to get them the gig of disposing bombs. Yup. Apparently the first mission is to collect 6 bombs all throughout the city and take them to the bomb disposal unit behind the police station before time expires. Oh man, this is giving me Die Hard with a Vengeance for the PlayStation 1 vibes. Except it doesn't have as many fun quips.
Someone give me some ass. I see you on some out and have qualified for another lap, McLean.
Alright, you choose a car and drive around the city, smashing into garbage cans that are presumably containing a bomb. Speed is key here. Speed is key! So, don't bother with the moped. I mentioned it really wasn't great before. I really mentioning it now because I tried it once, and I don't think any mission can be done on that thing. I mean, its max speed is barely 60 miles per hour. Also, I find it funny that the way you transfer the bomb to the bomb defusal truck is to hit it, wreck it, and then cops come out of nowhere to surround the vehicle. I mean, thanks, boys. What are you gonna do? Shoot the bomb? The second mission involves delivering hot dogs to a VIP over at City Hall. Oh, hey, it's like that cop mission where, I had to collect the mustard and the ketchup. They sort of complement each other. See, I told you, vague connections. This time, however, you gotta actually build the hot dogs by collecting the ingredients, 1 bun, 1 hot dog, and 1 lettuce to make up a singular hot dog. Wait, lettuce? What is that, a Chicago dog? I don't usually put anything on my hot dogs except for like ketchup and mustard. I'm confused. Sometimes, when I feel a little adventurous, I put a little dill relish on it. Anyways, you get 3 of each in order to make 3 hot dogs. Once you do, you gotta take them to City Hall and deliver them. By driving into the building and ramming into some tables and chairs. Just like last time. Truly peak Uber Eats experience right over here. Mission number 3 has you racing against an actual F1 racing car. Apparently somebody stole it, and the only way to bring them to justice is to beat them in a race. Wait, this just sounds like a job for the cops. Why is a courier/mechanic doing this? Thankfully, this mission isn't too hard. Just remember not to choose any of the really slow cars, so you actually stand a chance of actually completing the level. Nothing like that stupid moped type thing. Even at the best of scenarios, that thing is too slow to go anywhere. Don't make my mistake. Mission number 4 has you shoving limousines into oceans over at Fisherman's Wharf, one of those actual locations in the city. This one isn't random though. As the briefing mentions, this is to foil the smuggling of weapons by the aforementioned terrorists, since this is the source of income. Just ram a limousine and literally push it into the water. Do that 4 times and the level is complete. Mission 5 is rescuing the what? Whoa. Hold on a second. Rescue the president's daughter. How did we get here? Why is this job for a courier? I mean, okay, I guess within the context of the game, the courier has more than proven himself at this point, but still. But no, yeah, the president's daughter, along with Pops' daughter, Shirley, have gotten themselves kidnapped by, presumably the same terrorist organization that's been causing trouble all throughout the city for the game. It's your job to ram into the 2 limousines to rescue the girls, and then take them to safety. And by safety, I mean taking them to a baseball game, because I guess the safest place is in a crowd full of strangers and a bunch of Major League Baseball players? Look, I gave up asking questions a long time ago. I'm in it for the long haul at this point. Let's just get this done, huh? Mission number 6, the last of the standard missions, is rescue the president. Well, okay then. Of course! I mean, where else was this gonna lead? Rescue the president off of an aircraft carrier and escape in a helicopter. Waldman, the boss, in which if you did this in order, you probably put the pieces together after that fact, has a grudge against you, so be careful. You know what? At this point, why not? Let's go get the goddamn ATV and get the president. I'm all in at this point. I'll be damned if some goddamn lunatic politician, mob boss / terrorist leader is gonna get the best of me at this point. As you can probably guess, this stage is unlike anything you've played up until this point. Just like in the final stage in Scenario B, you get no map and you get a limited area to drive around in. You get bombarded by fighter jets who try to land on you and fire missiles at you, sometimes at the same time, with no regard for human life. And even for those on their team, I'm pretty sure they took out their own teammates at least a handful of times while I was trying to find where to go up on top there. I mean, eventually, through sheer force of will and not giving up on the thing, I found out that there were particular spots on the ship that you stop, and if you press the action button, it activates an elevator that goes down below. Again, super minor gripe, not enough to get into the way of my enjoyment of the game. You know why? Because we get to save Bill Clinton! Well, okay, it's supposed to be generic President number 42, but you can tell it's Bill. It's kind of funny, to be honest. Once you get him, the main objective is to get the blazes out of there, and it's just a question of getting back to the elevator, ticking it up, and scrambling over to a waiting cargo helicopter to make your escape and save the day. Gotta love that huge-ass American flag on the side. Gotta make sure we know what's on our side. God bless this ridiculousness. It is so nuts. Oh, and you can't forget about the bonus missions for Scenario A. They include getting the photo op locations and cleaning the streets of hazardous waste materials that are basically just reused garbage can assets from the bomb disposal level, except now they're turned upside down with hazardous goo spilled all around it. Nothing special after beating those special missions, but do get a job well done and a jotted down high score. Whew, well, that, my friends, was Super Runabout San Francisco Edition, one of the very first Dreamcast games I've ever played and owned, and by golly, I adore it, flaws and all. I don't know, there's something incredibly endearing about how wild the physics are, how ludicrous the story is, and the surprising mindfulness of the design team with trying to replicate San Francisco with actual locations sprinkled in a condensed version of the city. I can't help but smile and laugh whenever I fire this old favorite up. Sure, I get frustrated, but honestly, the fun outweighs the frustrations each and every single time. Alright, I think that's about everything that I can think of about this game. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell button so you know when the next one comes out. Remember, I'm trying to make this a thing, and I can't make this a thing without your support, so every single view counts, so I really appreciate it. And as always, remember, stay safe and keep on gaming!